The Anderson family's annual business meeting always felt more like a public execution. This year I sat at the far end of the mahogany conference table in their prestigious downtown office, watching them sharpen their knives. Uncle Richard, CEO of Anderson Industries, stood at the head of the table in his bespoke suit, radiating the same smug authority he'd wielded my entire life. "Another record year," he announced, though I knew the real numbers told a different story. My cousin Michael, chief financial officer despite his only qualification being his last name, smirked in my direction. "Some of us understand business," he stage whispered, "while others waste time with their innovative ideas." I straightened my simple black blazer, bought off the rack, a fact my aunt never failed to mention. Next to my relatives in their designer clothes and flashy jewelry, I looked like an outsider. Exactly how they wanted me to feel. The merger agreement sat in my briefcase like a loaded gun. They had no idea I was about to pull the trigger. "Now," Uncle Richard continued, "let's address the elephant in the room. Our family's disappointment." All eyes turned to me. The black sheep. The embarrassment. The one who'd walked away from the family business 5 years ago to start my own company. "Julia," my uncle's voice dripped with fake concern, "would you like to explain to everyone why you're still clinging to your failing startup instead of accepting the position we offered?" I thought back to that position. A junior role under my younger cousin, designed to humiliate me into compliance. They'd expected me to break, to come crawling back after my company failed. Instead, I'd built an empire they didn't even know existed. "Actually, Uncle Richard," I kept my voice calm, professional, "Nova Dynamics is doing quite well." Laughter rippled around the table. My cousin Amanda, head of marketing solely because of her father's position, rolled her eyes. "Oh yes, your little tech company. How many employees do you have now?" 5. If they'd bothered to read any business news in the past 3 years, they'd know exactly how many employees I had. But the Andersons only saw what they wanted to see. "Nova Dynamics is growing," I replied simply. "Growing?" Uncle Richard scoffed. "Let's be honest, Julia. You're the family embarrassment. Your father, my poor brother, would be ashamed if he could see you now." My father. The only Anderson who'd ever supported my vision, who'd believed in me until cancer took him too soon. They'd used his death as an opportunity to try to force me back into the fold, claiming he would have wanted me to join the family. They didn't know he'd left me his shares in Anderson Industries. Shares I'd used as a foundation to build something bigger than they could imagine. "Speaking of business," Uncle Richard's voice cut through my thoughts, "we should discuss the Wellington merger." Ah yes. The merger they thought would save them. Anderson Industries was bleeding money, losing market share to more innovative competitors. The Wellington deal was their last hope. "The papers will be signed next week," Michael announced proudly. "Wellington Technologies will bring us into the modern age." I checked my watch. Right on schedule. "About that merger," I said, opening my briefcase. "There's something you should know." Uncle Richard waved his hand dismissively. "Julia, please. This is far beyond your understanding." "Is it?" I placed a folder on the table. "Because I think you might want to see these documents." "What is this?" Michael reached for the folder, but I held up my hand. "First, let me tell you a story." I stood up slowly, commanding attention for the first time in that room. 5 years ago, I came to you with a proposal to modernize Anderson Industries. To embrace digital transformation before it was too late. You laughed me out of this room. "That ridiculous plan would have bankrupted us," Uncle Richard snapped. "No," I corrected him. "Your refusal to change is what's bankrupting you now. Your quarterly reports show a 60% drop in revenue. Your market share has fallen to less than 10%. The only thing keeping you afloat is the Wellington merger." The room temperature seemed to drop. Board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "And how would you know our quarterly numbers?" Michael demanded. "As I've been watching. Building. Preparing." I opened the folder. Nova Dynamics isn't just a tech company. It's a conglomerate that owns 30% of your competitors. And as of last week, we own controlling interest in Wellington Technologies. The silence that followed was deafening. That's impossible," Uncle Richard stammered. "Is it?" I smiled. "Check the merger agreement Wellington sent over. Look at the parent company's name. Michael frantically flipped through his papers, his face going pale. Nova Holdings. My holding company, I confirmed. The same one that's been buying Anderson Industries stock through shell corporations for the past 3 years. Amanda's designer purse slipped from her lap. But that would mean that your savior, your last hope for survival, is actually the cousin you've spent years mocking? I spread more documents across the table. The merger is still happening. But not the way you planned. Uncle Richard's hands trembled as he read the papers. These terms are non-negotiable, I finished. Nova Dynamics will acquire Anderson Industries at 20 cents on the dollar. All current management will be replaced. The company will be restructured according to the same modernization plan you rejected 5 years ago. You can't do this, Michael protested, but his voice lacked conviction. I already have. I pressed a button on my phone. Sarah, send in the Wellington team. The conference room doors opened and 5 executives in sharp suits entered. The same team Anderson Industries had been negotiating with for months. I believe you know my colleagues, I said smoothly. Though they've been reporting to me, not to Wellington's board. Uncle Richard slumped in his chair, 30 years of arrogance finally failing him. Your father would be proud, I cut him off. He always said the future belongs to those brave enough to embrace it. You chose to cling to the past. Now you'll pay the price. The merger papers sat on the table like a judge's verdict. 5 years of dismissal, mockery, and condescension had led to this moment. And I was just getting started. This is blackmail, Uncle Richard finally managed, his face flushed with anger and humiliation. No, I corrected him calmly. This is business. The kind of business you taught me. Take no prisoners, show no mercy. I just execute it better than you do. The Wellington executives were already distributing transition documents. My cousin Michael flipped through them frantically, his CFO credentials suddenly worthless. 30% workforce reduction, he read aloud, voice cracking. Complete digital transformation. Restructuring of all departments. Everything I proposed 5 years ago, I confirmed. The changes you said would destroy the company? They're happening anyway. Just at a much higher cost to you. Amanda stood up abruptly. I quit. I won't work for you. Sit down, I said firmly. You don't have the luxury of quitting. Your trust fund, your lifestyle, your future, it all depends on Anderson Industries stock. Stock that's worth pennies without this merger. She sank back into her chair, mascara starting to run. The board will never approve this, Uncle Richard declared, but the tremor in his voice betrayed his uncertainty. The board already has. I nodded to Sarah, who opened the doors again. Bernard Wheeler, head of the board of directors, walked in with 3 other board members. The vote was unanimous, Richard. We're accepting Nova's offer. Uncle Richard's face went from red to white. You knew about this? We've known for months, Bernard confirmed. Ms. Anderson approached us with proof of management's incompetence and her plan to save the company. Unlike you, we chose to listen this time. I watched my family's perfect facade crumble. Years of arrogance, nepotism, and resistance to change had finally caught up with them. You have 2 choices, I announced, standing at the head of the table. Their table, now mine. Accept positions in the restructured company with significantly reduced roles and salaries, or leave with basic severance packages. Decide now. And if we fight this? Michael challenged weakly. I smiled. Then I released the audit reports showing how you've been cooking the books for the past 3 years. How many years in prison for financial fraud, cousin? He went pale. Uncle Richard stood up slowly, his shoulders sagging. You planned this. All of it. The Wellington deal, the stock purchases. No, I corrected him. I built something successful. Your company's failure and my ability to save it? That's just karma. Your father, he started, would be proud, I cut him off. He saw what you couldn't. That business isn't about maintaining power, it's about creating value. He taught me that before he died. We're still family, Amanda tried, her voice small. Family. I laughed. Was it family when you called me the embarrassment? When you mocked every idea I had? When you used my father's death to try to force me back under your control? Silence fell over the room. The new Anderson Industries launches next month, I continued. Those who want to stay can meet with HR tomorrow to discuss their revised positions. Those who don't, security will escort you out today. You can't just, Uncle Richard began. I can and I will. I pressed a button on my phone. Security, please come to the main conference room. As guards entered, I watched my family's empire crumble in real time. Amanda sobbing into her designer purse. Michael staring blankly at the audit reports that could send him to prison. Uncle Richard, shoulders slumped, 30 years of dominance evaporating. One more thing, I added as security approached. The Anderson name stays on the building. As a reminder that the future belongs to those who embrace it, not those who cling to the past. The transformation of Anderson Industries began immediately. We stripped away layers of nepotism and outdated practices. Some employees celebrated the changes. Others, particularly my relatives' old allies, resigned in protest. Surprisingly, Michael asked to stay. I want to learn, he said quietly during his HR meeting. Really learn, not just coast on the family name. Amanda left for a smaller firm but sent an email a month later. You were right. About everything. I'm sorry we didn't see it sooner. Uncle Richard held out longest, refusing to accept the new reality until the board forcibly removed him. But 6 months later I received a letter from him. I was wrong, he wrote. About business, about change, about you. Your father would indeed be proud. 1 year after the takeover, Anderson Industries had transformed into a digital powerhouse. Our stock price quadrupled. The same relatives who'd called me an embarrassment now bragged about their connection to the company. Yesterday, during the annual business meeting, held in our new high-tech conference room, I watched Michael present our digital transformation results. He'd learned, adapted, grown. Remember when we thought we knew everything about business? He asked later. Remember when you called me the family embarrassment? He had the grace to look ashamed. We were wrong. Yes, you were. I smiled. But you learned. That's what matters. Last week, a business magazine wanted to interview me about the Anderson Industries transformation. They asked why I bought the company instead of letting it fail. I showed them a photo from 5 years ago, my last day before leaving, when they'd laughed at my proposals. Sometimes success isn't about destroying the old guard, I told them. It's about teaching them a new way to march. The Anderson Industries logo still stands atop our building, but it means something different now. Something my father would have been proud of. Something worth building. Sometimes the best revenge isn't watching them fail. It's making them succeed on your terms. And sometimes, just sometimes, being the black sheep means leading the flock in a new direction.